found explanation of why specifically on Har Sinai, this was the mount that there's specifically a connection between the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, and Har Sinai. The second explanation is found in the work called the Imre Shefer. So he writes as follows. It's again talking about Sinai, the significance of Sinai. Now these rabbis, of course, none of them had ever gone to Sinai, but they understood it without having to go. So a person might suspect that as a result of the sabbatical year, he might come to lose money. Because in the sabbatical year, he's not going to plant, he's not going to harvest his field for an entire year. So what does the Torah say about the sabbatical year? This, you'll rest, and the Shabbos of the land will be for you to eat. For you, for your slaves, for your maids, for your hired workers, for those who live amongst you, the animals in your field and your lands. That's verse 6, chapter 7. So even though you don't work the fields, the Torah promises, nevertheless, you will have enough food for you and for your household and even for your animals. More than that, the sabbatical year is going to give a bracha for the 6 years that come after it. As it says, V'tziviti es birchasi lachem. Now Hashem promises us in the Torah that I will command my blessing upon you, that if you keep the sabbatical year, Hashem promises us that the next 6 years will be blessed. So therefore, says the Imre Shefer, the Shemitah is called the Shabbos. And Rashi also calls it that, a Shabbos LaHashem, for the purpose of Hashem. Just like it says by Shabbos Bereshis. That meaning, what's the purpose of the sabbatical year? It's for God. It's to serve Hashem. It's to be awareness of God. The sabbatical year is to remind us about God. That just like the Holy Shabbos, nobody says, well, if I don't, I mean, some people say, but many of us who observe the Shabbos don't say, well, I'm not going to be able to make a living if I don't work on Shabbos. Instead, we say, just like the Holy Shabbos provides a blessing for all the days of the week, so too the sabbatical year. Even if you don't do anything, it will provide its influence not only for that year, but also for the next 6 years. And says the Imre Shefer, this is like Mount Sinai. How so? All the other mountains, the exalted mountains, they wanted God to choose them. They said, choose me. They said the Torah should be given upon them. Whereas Har Sinai stood off to the side and didn't request anything. It wasn't, this was a Gemara too. Har Sinai stood off to the side and didn't request anything. Therefore, it merited that Hashem's divine presence came down upon it. So, what's the message? That the message is that even though Mount Sinai didn't do anything, God's holiness came down upon it. So the sabbatical year also, by not doing something, that's how the holiness of Hashem comes down upon it. Sometimes the holiest action is to refrain from doing anything, to be silent, to refrain. So that's the second explanation that I wanted to share with you. We saw the first explanation was that Sinai demonstrates that the humility, excuse me, Sinai demonstrates the humility of Hashem in coming down into the world, and Sinai is the most humble of all the mountains. And the second explanation is Sinai demonstrates that even through passive behavior, Sinai just stood off to the side. So too, the sabbatical year, we're not working. Shabbos itself, refraining from work. That causes the blessings to come into the world. That's the Imre Shefer. Very powerful answer. Let me just pause here. I see Howard has a question. Hold on 1 second.